getting back to my series review with Prometheus. So this was a film that we were like wondering if this was actually connected to Alien when it was announced, and then it was like, well, it's kind of going to be the origins, and it's really not going to have any xenomorphs, and it was like, okay, so it's not really an Alien movie. And I feel like when this movie didn't perform all that well, probably because of the title alone, they were like, well, we need to kind of, if we're going to do this, let's throw Alien on the title and we'll do Alien Covenant. And it'll be a semi-continuation of this, but it'll get all the Alien fans back in the theater because, if you're going to make a sequel or a prequel, or obviously this is a prequel, but if you're going to make something like that, people need to know what it is. And we didn't really know all what that was. I remember going into the theater being like, this is connected to Alien in some capacity. Let's see. But I was very confused about the ending of this movie when I watched it because I'm not the Alien expert. I just know the films, okay. And so when they found the ship, I thought they were on the planet that they went to in the first Alien. The ship's out there, it's downed. The space jockey, they find him in his chair. He's got, his chest looks like it's been ripped. The whole thing, and they set that up in this movie where the spaceship crashes. It looks just like it is. The thing's in its chair, and then it gets out of the chair. And I was all angry, like, what the hell? They're fucking up continuity and this and that. And I had that opinion for a long time. And I was very annoyed about it. But then Daniel White, the Alien fanatic that he is, and I had mentioned that problem I had with it, and he was like, "Oh, it's a different planet. It's LV whatever," and I have it written down here somewhere. LV223. There it is. And the other one was a different number, and I was like, "Oh, so that's not the same planet?" And I was kind of trying to make my argument, like, "Oh, really? Like the ship is gonna be downed, and it looks just like the." Well, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of shitting on myself a little bit right now in my head because it's like, well, yeah, the ship when it crashes, it's gonna look like the ship when it crashes. I mean, if it's the same ship, it's gonna look like it, and the space jockey chair is the space jockey chair. It looks like that. So yeah, it's not that far-fetched to believe that there's another spaceship down on another LV planet that has one of those things in it. So I was being a little bit of a shit back then, but now that I have rectified that issue I had with the film, I can appreciate it more. And on this watch, which I think this is only my second watch, and I don't think I've ever seen it besides the theater, I got this like kind of thrown in with the Blu-ray pack here. There was a sale on Amazon for $20 for all of this, and I was like, all four on Blu-ray plus Prometheus for $20. So I bought that. There was a Black Friday thing. I was like, hell yes, give it to me. And finally got to check them out because of the recommendation here. So thank you to I'm not going to pronounce his name again. I think I've blown Hallgrimur. Now, yeah, we talked about his language and all this stuff. I am just baffled by their language. So I try. Okay, so let's continue. Now, upon rewatch, one thing struck me that I didn't realize beforehand, and that's probably because I wasn't as familiar with a lot of these actors when I watched this in theaters, however many years ago this film came out. Within 6 or 7, though, because I saw this with the mother of my children, and I've only been around her for about 7 years, so it's not that long ago, but what is it, like 5, 6 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? Something like that. So anyway, but the thing that was really impressive to me was this cast. Holy shit, the cast is mind-blowing. Noomi Rapace, Michael Fassbender, Guy Pearce, Idris Elba, Sean Harris from freaking, he's the villain in the 2 new Mission Impossible movies, but he's also in the amazing Possum, which no one's talking about. God, I love that movie. You got Logan Marshall Green here from Upgrade, the poor man's Tom Hardy, as a lot of people like to call him. You got Charlize Theron. You've even got the Rafe, however you say that guy's name, Spall from The Ritual, which is like, second favorite horror movie of the year last year, and one of my favorite horror movies of the decade, one of my favorite freaking horror movies of all time. You know how much I love The Ritual. You got Patrick Wilson in here playing her dad in her freaking dreams. He's only in the movie for like a minute as her dad, but it's freaking Patrick Wilson. It's clear as day. Oh, it's not clear because it's really distorted, but it's obvious, should I say, that it's him. And I was like, oh my god, they got freaking Charlize. They got Patrick Wilson in here. I was gonna say Charlize Theron, but yeah, so cool to see her in this. The cast is absolutely incredible, and visually, this movie is stunning. Holy shit, this is the prettiest of the movies in the Alien franchise for me. By far, this movie is gorgeous to look at. This opening sequence with one of the engineers like drinking this thing and falling into the water and creating life on the planet, you know, because this movie is all about creation. It's all the whole theme of this entire film is creation. It's people wanting, or well, I should say, sentient beings wanting to know where they came from, wanting to understand their purpose in the galaxy. And you've got the engineers who are creating the human race on Earth and who knows what else. They also somehow created or were harnessing the aliens from Alien, what would become them eventually, the xenomorphs. And then you've got David here, played by Michael Fassbender, and he is a robot. And he doesn't understand his purpose, and he feels like, you know, he needs to understand where he came from. And then you got Elizabeth Shaw, played by Noomi Rapace. She can't give life in her womb. She's barren in her inner workings there. And there's just so much to do with creation, the creation of life in this movie. And I really enjoyed this movie on this watch, but the flaws in the movie are that it really reaches really far out there, and it throws a lot of different concepts in front of you, like really intriguing stuff that's like, wow, I'd love to see this explored more. I mean, I would have preferred this to be like a television series. There's just so much to draw from here, and I feel like every well in the movie is almost completely untapped. I feel like we get like a drink from each well, and then the whole other rest of it is unexplored. There is so much in this movie unexplored, and that's what frustrates me about Alien Covenant, because I know they didn't really explore much more. They do some, for sure, some. But I could go off on a tangent of all the things that are set up here that just really aren't developed. And it's a damn shame, because it's almost ironic, because I felt like the movie is rushed and unexplored, and this is a movie about space travelers who go into stasis for a really long journey, so length, and they're there to explore things like really well. So the characters in this movie's purpose is kind of exactly the opposite of what we get. It's rushed and not well explored, and it's frustrating. So, but the movie is really cool. Like, I want to give the movie credit because it's gorgeous. The actors are great. The ideas set up in it are awesome. But man, it was just like every single thing we get, I'm like, okay, this is gonna go somewhere, and it's like, not really. And it's like, oh well, hopefully in the next one that will be explored more. I mean, I'm looking forward to going back and watching Alien Covenant now, because I'll be like, okay, look, they did this, and they addressed this, and this, and that. But I was just talking to Daniel about it, and he was like, yeah, they kind of abandoned almost everything in that. And I was like, ugh, that's in my memory of it, but I was hoping there was definitely going to be more there. So they are looking for their creators. They want to find the engineers that created the human race, and so they get Weyland on board. We actually get to see Weyland in this movie, which is kind of cool, and then he's played by Guy Pearce. And of course, it's revealed later on that he is actually on board, and he is there to try to be immortal. If they gave him life, they can prolong his life. Makes sense. And I feel like the whole medical pod that they have there on the ship, I feel like it was trying to trick you into thinking that Charlize Theron's character was a guy, and then you're like, oh no, that thing was just there for Wayland. Because that would have begged the question, like, what did Idris Elba's character find when he went to bang her 10 minutes later, when she was like, my room, 10 minutes. I'm expecting something happened there. But like, her character isn't really developed all that much. She just kind of is a badass, and then she just kind of dies. The whole, I want to get resurrected and have longevity in life, and he goes there and he just dies. And Logan Marshall Green's character, he's there to explore, and then it doesn't go his way, so he goes home, he drinks a bunch of freaking liquor, and Michael Fassbender's David gives him a little bit of the stuff, and he just dies. And then, she's pregnant with his baby after not being able to be pregnant. She thinks that's crazy, and the thing is 3 months along in 10 hours, and, she goes and she cuts it out of herself, and it just gets frozen. And then later in the movie, it just jumps on a thing, and then that's that. It's just, like, David wanted to, experiment on Logan Marshall Green, or Dr. I can't remember his name right now. It'll come to me in a minute. But he wanted to experiment on him, and he died. He wasn't even around. And then he just throws Elizabeth Shaw into a thing and gives her a couple like guards, and he's like in another room doing another thing. When she comes out, he doesn't really seem all that interested. I don't feel like he's all that interested in his experimentation on both the doctors here. Like, he's like, oh, I'm so curious, and I want to know like what this does. He doesn't even go back to look at the creature that she did, like that cut out of her or anything. It's like, what the fuck was he doing this for? What is anybody doing anything for in this? They fly all the way out there, and none of them even know why they're going out there. Really, all of them like gave up their lives essentially to fly this far out. And when they get there, it's like, okay, now we're going to explain to you what we're doing. Like, they wouldn't have explained it to him before, like, because they didn't want him to say no. And I don't know. Like, it's a very cool movie. It's just frustrating to watch because, my God, this could have been epic. This could have been it should have been like a trilogy of movies. And maybe that's what it was planned to be. But oh man, because this is like a religious quest, essentially, like a scientific religious quest. And I like how he points out, like, well, you're going to take the cross off now? I mean, we know that there is no God. She's like, well, yeah, like, but who created them? It's just like that, what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of question. It's like, there is no answer. Like, we're going to always have to wonder. So maybe there will be a God no matter what you even got freaking Wong in here. Shit, I forgot a couple other characters. You got Wong in here from Doctor Strange, and you've got Kate Dickie from The Witch and Game of Thrones. So, God, the cast is insane. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool things. I have like the mapping orbs flying around inside the ship. I love that idea. I think that's cool technology. I think will exist one day if it doesn't already exist in some capacity. Finding the dead body. Could you imagine going to an alien planet and actually finding an alien race and realizing once you take its DNA that they really did create you? Like, they're literally answering the world's, our Earth's biggest questions ever asked. And they're doing it in such a like, oh, we found them. Okay, here they are. And they get excited about it for a minute. And then it's just kind of thrown aside. It's like, these questions would change everything we know about everything. This would shake every person on that ship to the core. Like, everyone would rethink their existence. And it's kind of like, she shows her husband or whatever, who I don't really care for him. Like, I like the actor, but I don't know, his character, I don't care for him. He's kind of a drunk, and I don't feel like he's that great of a guy. I get a feeling from him. I don't care for him much. and they were plotting a curve. The freaking, not the technicians, the creators of our planet. Fuck, man. Can't think of the goddamn, the architects. No, not that. The engineers. Fuck that word. The engineers in this had a course plotted to Earth, and they were going to come here and wipe us all out. But these experimentations that they were doing, whether or not were those what they were going to release on Earth? I'm guessing that they were going to just take those around and wipe everyone out. Every one of those pods they were just going to throw onto a different planet, and then they got killed by them. So their own weapons killed them. Did they create them as weapons? Did they find them on another planet and say like, oh, this would be some shit to drop on people, like this chemical warfare? But they were plotting a course there, and she said the one had been dead for like a couple thousand years or something, so we would have been wiped out well before before science, before we were able to get into space. I mean, this movie takes place in 2093. It starts in 2089. So we would have been in 90 AD around the time that they were coming for us. We weren't very advanced at that point. We're not really all that advanced now, to be honest. Our technology is, but we're not. And there's some good horror in this. I just, oh man, the scene where the two dudes are left behind and they see this like snake-like thing, and they're terrified by everything up until that point. Then they finally actually see a very weird-looking snake-like, dick-like creature, and he's like playing with it like it's a puppy, and the other one's kind of apprehensive about it. But he's also kind of like, oh yeah, I'm kind of curious too. I mean, fuck that, no way. The way those guys were acting, it was like two completely different guys from the two guys that we were encountering not 5 minutes before. Bullshit. All of a sudden, they had to sleep in there. Do you imagine sleeping in those helmets, though? And they were out there all night, and Elizabeth Shaw was like, you have 2 minutes left of oxygen. But then, for some reason, I don't know, maybe I missed something there. She just had oxygen again all of a sudden. I don't know. Because she just took off after David went there and she had oxygen. I don't know. I was confused by that. But their oxygen just held out for the entire night, and they weren't worried about oxygen then. And maybe her shit was damaged and I missed that, and that's why she didn't have oxygen. I don't know. But them being so scared, and then them being like, oh, there's a crazy snake-like creature, I'm going to go and try to pet it? Like, what was the intention there? You going to communicate with it? Going to give it a pet and go back to Earth and be like, I pet a fucking snake, an alien snake? Like, stupid. Just very stupid. Opening up the door changes the atmosphere inside, and that's what releases all this stuff, so it's kind of laying dormant forever. And so when they open that door, when David opened that door, David really kind of screws everything up for everybody, which is, going back to the original Alien, those damn robots can't be trusted. And so why was the space jockey asleep in this? He wasn't infected. So, like, he just put himself in stasis to not wake up, and then he did wake up, but then it was time to fly away. Why didn't he fly away before? Like, I'm confused by that. Like, oh, he comes to life. Like, maybe he needed someone else to get him out of it. He, like, did that to protect himself, and then everything in there died off, and he couldn't bring himself out of it, and he was just waiting for someone to wake him back up. I mean, that's really all I got. That's really all I can come up with. But yeah, they bring him out, and he just rips David's head off and throws him aside, and then kills everyone else. They don't care for us. They don't care for us. Kind of like that God hates us all mentality. Like, he made us, and now he's done with us. He's had it. He's coming to kill us all. Some freaking Noah's Ark kind of shit. He's gonna wipe out the whole planet. Although I don't think they were gonna give anyone the heads up and give them a ship or anything. And the cap and crew sacrifice themselves to crash into the ship. I just don't feel like these characters are well enough explored and well enough fleshed out for us to care that much. Like, I like them because it's Idris Elba, it's Wong, and whatever. Like, yeah, they're good actors and their characters on screen, but I just don't feel like we get to know anyone all that well. Like, I just feel like everything is so surface level. And it's like a very pretty film to look at, sets up a lot of really cool ideas, and then that's just really it. And I like the ambition, but I don't like the execution. And then there's her baby. Holy shit, this thing is made from Shaw. This thing is like giant. It's like a freaking manta ray. And it just attaches itself. And then the thing that comes out of him at the end, this little baby Xeno hybrid alien thing with like an extended freaking jaw. That's one big ass thing. I remember saying in Alien 3, like the bigger the body, I guess the bigger the alien can be that grows inside of him. But this thing looks way too big to even fit inside his body. Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing where Alien Covenant goes with this, and then that's it. I mean, for the Alien franchise, outside of the Alien versus Predator movies. I'll get to the next one, Alien Covenant, maybe tomorrow, probably not. Maybe Tuesday. We'll see what happens. Oh, Jesus, even Tuesday might be rough. But I got a lot of things coming up right now. Into the Dark, lots of shit. You'll see. But yeah, stay patient. I'll get through these. But there you go, Prometheus. I know it's kind of all over the place, but hey, my review is kind of unexplored and all over the place as well. There you go. Huh. All right, guys. Adios.